Okay, so today we're going to use Word and a list of names and addresses and other bits of information in Excel to actually create a mail merge. So a mail merge basically is where you take a letter and you merge it with data from another application, normally Excel. It could be an actual database program and so on in business, but we're just going to stick with the basics Excel. So in front of you here, we have an imaginary email from the school, taking the theme of St. Trinian's School. And if you're old enough like me, you remember the movie, although it was in black and white. And so I've got already designed the basic school letter from St. Trinian's with the address in and all the information I need to send. I've put some charts which have been created in the spreadsheet already, and I've copied some of the chart data across as well to make it more meaningful for the parents. I've created the full signature at the bottom. That actually I've created using a script font. It's not actually really a handwritten signature, it's actually just a script. Things like this I've played around with. But anyway, let's go back to the mail merge aspect. So what I need here is I need the parent's name and address to go above dear. And then next to dear to the right, I want the parent's name. So it would read, dear Mrs. Jones, dear Mrs. Fitzpatrick, whoever. And then there's the letter, and we'll look at ways of enhancing the letter in a minute. But let me first of all show you the actual data. So here's the data which I've got, which is already typed up in a spreadsheet. So obviously I've got the parent's name, I've got the parent's surname, I've got their address, the town they live in, postcode. I've also got their email address, although for this occasion I'm not going to use it. I've got information about the child, about their sex, their pronoun, their name, their first name, and their surname. Okay, so that's the information. I've also got things such as an ID, but I'm not using the ID for this occasion. I'm just going to be using their basic information. Okay, so that's the information we're going to use. Let's go back to the letter. There's the letter I'm going to merge it in. So what I'm going to do first of all is go to the mailings menu at the top here. So once I go to the mailings menu, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. So the first thing I need to do is tell it the name of the spreadsheet where the information is going to be found. So I'm going to tell it to choose recipients and to use an existing list. And by using an existing list, I'm not going to recreate anything from scratch. And you can recycle these spreadsheets with names and addresses, and you can update them directly. So you do that separately to the Word document. So, oops, I think I just pressed the wrong thing. Try that again, Paul. Right, so it's going to ask me the location. So I'm going to go to the location I know it's stored in. So bear with me for 1 second. And we're on week 3. So it's going to ask me for the name of the database. Now the database is actually a spreadsheet, and I've got a version here ready to run. So I'm going to click open. So once you click open, it gives you this. Now this is supposed to tell you that you've done everything right, but any sensible person looking at it would assume that's an error message. It's not. It is to confirm everything is correct. Okay, it's giving me some information. It's telling you basically it's accepted that as a table, which is what basically it's trying to explain. It's trying to say you've got that as a table, it's accepted. It's also telling you the first row of data is going to be considered as column headings. Now, if you just go back to your spreadsheet for a sec, what it's saying is that first row there is not going to be used for data. It's going to be used for column headings, which is correct. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that. So that's all correct. So just click OK. Now, nothing appears to have changed, but in reality, things have changed. What I've now got is these extra greetings and extra things I can do up at the top here. I'm just going to use this option here for inserting a merge field. When I click on that, it actually gives me all those column headings. Okay, and if you want to keep it permanently, you can actually click there and then you can get a menu. But I find the menu is a bit annoying and it gets in the way. So each time I want to insert a field, a field, by the way, is a computer technical term for, what represents, for example, a field for parent's first name. There's a field for parent's surname. Well, you can see there. The first name's parent's first name, the parent's surname. Likewise, there's a there's a field for the child's name as well, the child's first name, the child's surname, and so on. All those are fields. Basically, field comes from like a field of cows, a field of sheep. One thing is in that field. So the last name field only has the parents' last names. The street name field only has the parents' street and the family street address, and so on. Okay, so let's do this, because by doing it, you'll actually see how easy it is. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with the block which has the parents' full name, their address, the town they live in, and the postcode. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on Insert Merge Field. I'm going to start with the salutation. Now, the salutation is the person's title, the Mr., Mrs., and what have you. After the salutation, I need to manually insert a space, because rather than putting spaces after every single Mr. and Mrs. in the spreadsheet, it's easier to leave them blank and put one space in the letter. The next thing I want to do is put the person's first name, followed by another space, and then insert the person's last name. So each time I've gone to the same place, Insert Merge Field, I've clicked down the box, and I've chosen these first three to give me the person's or the parent's first name, last name with Mr. and Mrs. in front. Now at this stage, if you want to, I can turn the preview on, and instead of showing me the information as it's going to be used for mail merging, it can actually show me a representation of what it will look like on the printout. So there you go. So the first person's name will be that person there. Okay, Mrs. Madeline Cars. Okay, now once underneath that, I want the address, then I want the town, and then I want their postcode. So I'm going to turn preview off just to work in this mode. I'm going to go down. Now, to go down one very short break, not leaving a big gap, the shortcut is to press Shift and Enter, or Shift and Return. Whereas if you press Return normally, it leaves a big gap. Okay, so I'll probably come back to that later just to recap. So Shift and Enter to come down, and then I'm going to put in the person's street name, which includes their house number. Shift and Enter again. Then I'm going to put in the person's town. Finally, Shift and Enter. I'm going to put in their postcode. Okay. Now again, just to show you with preview, that would now show the parent's full name, the street, the town, the postcode. Okay, that's looking good. Now for the next part, after the word dear, we've already put space. We want to have the salutation and the surname. We're not going to go for Christian name here. We're just going to go for salutation and their surname. So for this, I'm going to go for Insert Merge Field, Salutation. Then I'm going to put space, and I'm going to go for Insert Merge Field and choose last name. Okay, so that's what your letter would look like. And by the way, you can look through all the various letters using these play buttons here. So if I use the right play button, I can look at the next parent's details, the next parent's details. I can go all the way through to the end, and there's even a button to go straight to the end, which is this button here. And that takes me to the final record, number 35. And that allows you to look at all the records, make sure all the records are working perfectly. I'm sure they are. Now take me to the first record. Right, now you could probably say that's enough there, but to make the letter more personalized, as we've already got the person's or the student's name in the actual database, so I'll jump back to that very quickly. So we're looking, for example, at the first record. So that's putting Mrs. Madeline Cars down. That's their address, that's the postcode, and so on. But I also have the student's name. So their child's called Mary. Okay, so I can use that information and bring that in to personalize the letter. So I'm going to jump back to there. So when you look at the letter I've already rewritten, it reads, please find enclosed some information about this year's excellent results and how well your child has performed. Now, if I replace your child with the name of their actual child, it would read results and how well, in this case, Mary has performed within the group. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that to the student's name. Okay, I need to put a space in so the spaces come out. Other than that, it's all good. If I turn preview off, I can see it without preview, so I can make sure the spacing's correct. It is. It's good. Go back to preview. And again, if I press the play buttons, not only now does the name change and also where it says dear and the person's name, it also over here, it now changes the name of the child. Now, obviously, if you've got a parent which has two children in the school, they're going to receive two letters, but that's not a major issue. So we can go through and we can see the individual. Now, that gives me the basic concept, but that hasn't created the individual letters to print off. And to do that, we just simply go to Finish and Merge. And at this point, it gives you two choices. Now, I always prefer the choice to print out to what's called a PDF, what's basically an Adobe Acrobat file. The reason I like to do that is because that allows me to save it one last time in a format which gives me the preview of what it will look like. So what I see in the final result's exactly what I will get. And if I'm happy with everything, I can print. Obviously, I was going to print direct to the printer, and there was a mistake. And only when I looked at the first copy on the printer did I realise there was a mistake. Then I've wasted all that paper. So, it's probably it's just a safeguard. So I'm going to choose the option to print. There is an option, by the way, to send email. And if you notice, on the originals, there are emails, so you could do it that way rather than print at all. But I'm not going to do that on this occasion. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to choose print document. Now, I'm always going to choose all, because with this creating a PDF, I can always manually decide which files or which parents not to write to. Or I could have a list. I could do a list, but there's other ways of doing that. And in a later week, we'll be discussing that further. So I'm going to choose all. So the first thing it comes up with the name of the printer. Now, that's actually a name of a real printer, so I need to change that. I need to change it to Microsoft Printer PDF. You may have alternative printer PDF services by different organizations, but you'll have at least Microsoft's Printer PDF. Now, I'm not going to change anything else. I'm just going to click OK. And what will happen, it will ask me the name and location of the file. So I'm just going to put in letter to parents. That will be my name. I'll just save this for convenience on my download folder, and I'll click save. And what's going to happen, it's going to go off and it's going to create those 35 individual letters. And those letters, if they're 2 pages, that'll be obviously twice as many pieces of paper. So that'll be another opportunity for me to check it all fits on one page, and I'm happy with this. Now, it's done its job. It's not actually going to give me the opportunity to display it automatically. As far as Word is concerned, it's completed its task and it's finished, and that's it. So if I bring in my my files, there's my letter to parents. So I'm going to double click on that, and that will then load up my letter to parents. Notice, first of all, there's 35 individual pages, which is good. That means each letter's fitted on one page. Let me just make that a little bit easier to see. So there's the first letter we looked at before. There's the name of their child. Okay, that letter looks good. It's all nicely formatted. Then on the second page is the letter to the second parent, their name and address, the name of their child, and so on. So that's now created 35 nearly identical letters, except it's changed the names and addresses and the names of the child accordingly. Okay, so I'm happy with that. If I was ready to print that, I would simply go to the usual print. So there's a printer icon over here, for example. I could click on the print icon over there, and then I could go off and print that as per normal to 35 individual piece of paper. But I'm not going to do that on this occasion. And it also shows you little thumbnails on the side here, so you can see what they all look like, just as a thumbnail to do a final check before printing maybe. But absolutely, if the first couple of pages normally are fine, and maybe check the last page, make sure that's fine. So long as you haven't got anything where you've got extremely long bits of name and address to fit, which has just pushed 1 or 2 letters onto 2 pages. Other than that, you probably find it'll be absolutely fine. And there you go.